I'm Riley, 32, and honestly, I never thought my perfect little suburban life would fall apart like this. You know those Facebook highlight reels everyone has? Yeah, that was me and Arnold. High school sweethearts turned marriage goals. A 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. Weekly date nights, matching Christmas pajamas with our daughter Lily. Basic? Maybe. But it worked. Even if things with Arnold had started feeling a little predictable. Then, Michael moved back to town. And with him came memories of a past I thought I had buried. One careless comment, one joke I thought was harmless. And in a single moment, I lost everything. Because I compared my husband to my ex. And now? Arnold is gone. Michael doesn't want me either. And I'm sitting here, staring at my phone, waiting for a text that will never come. Arnold wasn't the kind of guy who swept me off my feet. He wasn't the bad boy or the heartbreaker. But he was good to me. He was the kind of man who showed up on time, paid the bills, tucked our daughter in every night, and made sure I always had gas in my car. He didn't do grand gestures or spontaneous trips. But he was steady, reliable, and always put our family first. And for years, that was enough. We built a life together. A safe, predictable, happy life. But then, Michael came back. Michael, the guy who was wild, exciting, and impossible to ignore. Michael, me ex. I told myself it didn't mean anything, that I was just curious. But deep down, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. And that's when I started to see Arnold differently. Not as my husband, but as the man I had settled for. And that thought? It ruined everything. It happened on a regular Friday night. Arnold and I were watching television, sitting on opposite ends of the couch like we always did. I was scrolling through my phone, half listening to whatever he was saying. And then Michael's name popped up in a group chat. A few old friends were talking about how he was back in town single, successful, and still as charismatic as ever. I smirked, shaking my head. Wow, I said absent-mindedly, still looking at my phone. Michael was always just bigger in every way. I didn't mean it like that. I meant his personality, his presence, his confidence. But the second the words left my mouth, I felt Arnold go completely still. I looked up, and the way he stared at me, like he had just been punched in the gut. I laughed, trying to brush it off. "Oh my God, I didn't mean it like that," I said quickly. "You know how Michael-ish just takes up so much space, always so loud, so intense. I was talking about his energy, not—" But Arnold wasn't listening. He just nodded slowly, expression unreadable. "Got it," he said, his voice quiet. Then he got up and walked out of the room. And that's when I knew. I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. After that night, everything changed. Arnold didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't even ask for an explanation. He just stopped trying. He stopped texting me first. He stopped kissing me goodbye before work. He stopped making little jokes, stopped asking about my day, stopped looking at me the way he used to. At first I thought he was just upset, that he'd get over it. But as the weeks passed, I started to realize he wasn't angry. He was done. I'd always thought Arnold was the type of guy who would stay no matter what. But something in him had shifted. One night I tried to cuddle up next to him in bed like I always did. But he didn't move. Didn't turn to hold me. Didn't even acknowledge me. And that was the moment I realized I was losing him. And I didn't know how to stop it. One evening, I came home from work to find Arnold sitting at the kitchen table. His posture was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that makes your stomach drop. "We need to talk," he said, his voice steady. I laughed nervously, setting my bag down. "Okay. About what?" He took a deep breath. "I think we both know this isn't working anymore." My heart stopped. "Arnold, come on. Don't be ridiculous. It was just a dumb comment," I said, waving my hand dismissively. But he didn't argue. He just shook his head. "It wasn't just a comment, Riley. It was the truth. You don't respect me. Maybe you never did." His voice wasn't angry. It was just tired, like he had already made peace with his decision. I felt panic creeping in. Arnold, we have a life together. A family. You're really going to throw all of that away? He looked at me, and for the first time in years, I saw it the moment a man stops loving you. I'm not throwing anything away, Riley. You did. And then he got up, grabbed his keys, and walked out the door. No yelling. No second chances. Just gone. And for the first time, I realized I had pushed too far. And now I couldn't take it back. At first, I told myself it was fine. Arnold was just being dramatic. He'd cool off, realize he was overreacting, and come back. And if he didn't, well, maybe I'd find someone better. After all, Michael was back in town. Michael, the guy who had once made me feel alive. Michael, the man I had just compared my husband to. So, in my twisted logic, I thought, maybe this is fate. I convinced myself that Arnold leaving was a blessing in disguise. That maybe I had settled for him when I should have waited for someone more exciting, more dominant, more everything. So I reached out to Michael. And at first, he responded, flirty, casual, like old times. I felt a rush of validation. See, I knew it. This is what I was missing. But then, I suggested meeting up. And that's when Michael's tone changed. Look, Riley, you're cool and all, but I'm not really looking for anything serious. Just having fun, you know? My stomach dropped. Wait, but I thought. I started, but he cut me off. I mean, I figured you just wanted to let loose after the whole husband situation. No hard feelings, right? And right then, it hit me. Michael never wanted me back. I had destroyed my marriage for a man who didn't even care. And now, I was completely alone. Weeks passed, then months. Arnold never came back. No late-night texts, no I miss you messages. Nothing. And then one day, I saw him again. I was at the grocery store, mindlessly walking through the aisles when I heard a familiar laugh. I turned the corner, and there he was. But he wasn't alone. He was pushing a shopping cart, smiling, laughing, and next to him, a woman. She was beautiful, effortlessly confident, the kind of woman who looked at him like he was the best thing that had ever happened to her. And worst of all, he looked happy, happier than I had seen him in years. I felt a lump rise in my throat. This was the moment I had been dreading. The moment I realized he really moved on. He wasn't waiting for me. He wasn't coming back. I had mocked him for not being man enough. And now, another woman was loving him in all the ways I never did. And me? I was standing in the middle of a grocery store, gripping a basket full of frozen dinners, wondering how I had let the best thing I ever had slip right through my fingers. I don't get a happy ending. I don't get a second chance. Arnold is gone. Not just from our house, not just from our marriage, but from my life. And the worst part? He's better without me. I thought I wanted a stronger man, a bigger presence, someone exciting. But what I failed to see was that Arnold was strong all along. Because real strength? It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about knowing when to walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you. And Arnold? He was strong enough to leave me behind. So if you're listening to this, don't make the mistake I did. Because when you break a man who truly loves you, he doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. He just walks away. And once he's gone, he never looks back. And trust me, regret is a lonely place to live. Goodbye.